Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I am coming to you live via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. And hello, Robert Marshall and Scott Kern and Daniel Johnson and Alan Smith. Hello, Doug and Kim. Welcome to the Facey Chat. And for those of you who may be first-time listeners out there and SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio land, Rob Robinson, I hope you are recovering well from your surgery. I do stream live on Facebook, and I'm also just giving shout-outs. Giving shout-outs to those in the Facey Chat. And Daniel, you need your prescription filled, Angela Bassett. Very complimentary. Compliments will get you everywhere, by the way, just saying. Just telling you. No, thank you very much for that compliment. I appreciate it. Because she's doing well, Angela. Thank you so thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Alan in the Facey Chat says no rolling my eyes. I know, because apparently people think that's disrespectful, particularly the men folk. I wouldn't want to be disrespectful. I mean, really. Well, everybody, I'm really trying to let that go, right? Because it just makes me mad all over again. Seriously. But anyway. Oh, I'm going to roll my eyes. I roll my eyes all the time. I roll my eyes when I'm happy. I mean, really. I have a Robert in the Facey Chat said I have a rebellious heart. Of course I do, because that's the only reason why you would ever roll your eyes. Right, according to some crazy person. Anyway, welcome, welcome Albert, welcome Joseph. I'm so glad you guys are here. My guest today is business consultant Mark Collier, and you know what? This is the one thing I didn't ask, and I forgot to ask before we got on the air whether it's Collier or Collier. It's usually the first thing I ask, but I was running behind schedule today. Mark, who's listening? I want to pronounce your name correctly. How do you pronounce?
Good evening. How are you, Melanie? And the correct spelling of pronunciation of my last name depends on where you are. If you're in any other part of the country besides New Orleans, it's Collier. If you're in New Orleans, it's Collier.
Ah, okay, there you go. So it's Collier. Okay, very good. I always mean to ask that, and when I was setting up, I was like, I'm going to make sure I ask him that, and then I forgot to ask you that. Sorry about that. Hello, Tom. Hello, Richard Herschel Griffin. Welcome. You guys are so welcome. And he's a business consultant. Mark Collier is a business consultant. And why didn't I write down the name of the? Really, Melanie? This is how you're moving today? Tell me the name of your organization. Why I didn't write it down, I don't know.
I'll be happy to jump in.
Please do.
University of Georgia Small Business Development Center, and we are in partnership with America's Small Business Development Centers, otherwise known as SBDCs, which are funded by the SBA.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I apologize for that. I was telling Mark before we got here that I was running extremely late with all these balls that I seem to have in the air these days, and I left my laptop at home. So usually, don't tell anybody, but usually during one of my preps, I prep for my show. So when I get home. So then when I get home, I'm like, bam, bam, bam. I only have maybe a minute's worth of stuff to do, and I'm nice and relaxed. But today I didn't have my computer. so I was rushing today. I apologize, Mark. I apologize for that. So
no problem at all, Melanie.
All right, excellent. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about starting and growing small businesses. And what I actually really love about the fact that I'm going to have Mark on today is that, we're marrying the thought of the private sector working with government. And I like that idea as opposed to the government, completely supporting small businesses or completely supporting people for that matter. And the SBA is actually a really good organization. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with Mark today. But of course, before we get to that, a little bit of housekeeping. Did I say hi to my friend Doug? Hey, Doug. And I see Kevin Cullis in the chat as well, and also David Jordan. And Kevin Cullis was my guest yesterday. And because I didn't have my laptop with me, I did not post the podcast. So if you're wondering, Kevin, where the podcast from the show is from yesterday, that's why it's not posted yet. But it will be posted along with this podcast shortly. And do what my mom used to do. Remember when you would ask your parents when something was going to happen and they really weren't exactly sure when? So they would say shortly, and it would drive you insane. That's when the podcast will be posted. It will be posted shortly, depending on how my call center setup goes tonight. Anywho, so that's the deal. But I didn't forget about you, Kevin. Usually I post it like right after I get off the air. But I had a phone call right after I got off the air, and it didn't happen. Hence, if you guys were following my social media last night, that's part of the reason why I ended up having an orange for dinner. So there's that. Thanks, Kevin. You're very understanding. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about the news. Tesla. First of all, let's talk about Tesla for a second. Do you know that Tesla gets like way too much government support? Like, I just want to say that right off the bat, like, gets a lot of our taxpayer dollars for what they do. It's a little ridiculous. Anyway, I just had to like moan about that just a little bit. But they're claiming that they're going to flatten their management structure, which usually means to like skim it down a little bit. Typically, when they do things like that, that means the company is struggling, and they have been struggling with the delivery time. And we've been talking about this for a minute now of the Model 3. It's a little bit out of my price range, and by that I mean a lot of it out of my price range. And I don't know if it's because I'm old, but I can't fathom plugging in my car. But this model, we've been talking about this model, I feel like, for a year, and they've been having production issues with it. And selfishly, because I live in the state of New Jersey, I'm going to talk about this and all things that are horrible about. This is not actually particularly horrible, but New Jersey is now able to move forward with sports betting. Now, I will tell you that this has been going on for a while. The Supreme Court ruled on it today. But not only do I live in New Jersey, but I actually happen to live about 40 minutes from Atlantic City. In fact, my ex-husband was a dealer at the Borgata, like as in a like blackjack dealer, like not drug dealer. I used to have to remember, like, when you tell people that don't live near casinos, like, what does your husband do? Oh, he's a dealer. Oh, he is? And you're just like really open about that. No, he deals cards. Deals cards at the casino. It's a casino dealer. But yeah, and of course, you know, the casinos have been fighting it because a lot of it is online and stuff like that. So the Supreme Court ruled that they're going to be allowed to do that. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to give states access to a $150 billion industry. As someone who grew up around the casino industry, grew up here, know people who work there. You know, my stepfather was an executive in the casino industry. I actually worked when I was in undergrad school, believe it or not, worked at Trump Taj Mahal for a few years in the marketing department in my other life. And in the special events department. I personally don't get blowing your money. I don't understand it. I never have. Whenever I go there, it's like, you know, to go to a restaurant or something. I don't get the whole concept of gambling. You know, when me and my ex-husband were dating, I remember he gave me like $200 to gamble. We were going out for a date, and like I totally pocketed it and bought a purse. I was like, thanks, getting a new Coach bag. But yeah, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm not a game of chance. I'm not a chance. I'm not a risk taker. Not me. They're not doing it. But people do, and it's sad because, you know, people have their kids in there. It's a mess it's on some levels. So I am not totally sure if having online gambling, sports betting is a good thing or a bad thing, because God knows people are not hyped up enough about sports. I'm not a huge fan. I don't even know if ESPN still exists, and I'm not mad about it. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Michael Lawrence Patterson just jumped in the chat, so I want to say hi to him real quick. And Tony Bosley, hello. We're going to break real quick. We'll be back in a couple of moments.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition. Once again, President Trump showed real leadership, wisdom, and moxie by pulling America out of the Obama executive order nuclear deal with Iran. Hello, line. Ron Edwards for today's page from the Edwards Notebook. For 39 years, Iran has been shouting death to America and Israel. Iran has for too long been given free reign by American presidents, while that Islamic nation took over a U.S. embassy, financially supported Hezbollah, and blew up a U.S. Marine base. More recently, Iran frantically worked to try and produce nuclear missiles, which they threatened to utilize to blow up targets in both the United States and Israel. So along came President Obama, who through executive order enacted a nuclear arms deal without congressional approval, nor agreed to by Iran's neighbors. If that deal were allowed to run its course, Iran would be free and clear to produce nuclear weapons after a decade. One has to wonder, since inspectors were prevented from making sure that Iran stuck to the so-called agreement, if they weren't still creating nuclear weapons. The days of America leading from behind are over. The world will benefit from the wisdom of getting out of the deal and slapping a tough economic sanction on Iran. I'm Ron Edwards. Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on theronedwards.com. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Welcome to this week's Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. This week, we talk the financial basics every new grad should know. Graduations are right around the corner, and so here you go. First, put some money away. You want to have two separate savings accounts, one emergency fund and one for periodic expenses. Second, invest for your future. If your employee offers a workplace retirement plan such as a 401k, sign up as soon as possible. And if your employer offers to match your contribution, make sure you do that too. Finally, keep your biggest expense under control. And this is usually your rent or your mortgage. Make sure you're spending no more than 25% of your monthly gross income on housing. And this is whether you rent or own. Make sure that expense includes your insurance and your utilities. And that's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 2 p.m. West on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit, Talk Radio, and streaming live on Facebook. Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is Mark Collier. He is a business consultant and an efficiency expert at the University of Georgia's Small Business Development Center in Atlanta. And guess what, Mark? Somewhere in my notes, just not where it normally is. I thought I had done that. I was like, I could have sworn I put that somewhere, and I did. I found him. But he's going to talk to us today about starting and growing a small business. But before we delve into the material, I would love for you to give the audience a little bit of your background, if you would.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Melanie. The Small Business Development Centers are a series of business centers across the country. And what they do, they represent America's network of small business development centers. And they are the most comprehensive small business assistance network in the United States and its territories. SBDCs, as they are called, are hosted by leading universities, colleges, and state economic development agencies and private partners. And they're funded in part by the United States Congress through a partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration. There are nearly 1,000 local centers available to provide no-cost business consulting and low-cost training to both new and existing businesses across the country. Small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs can go to their local SBDCs for free face-to-face business consulting, and they have training, and they also provide research, which is also free to businesses. Many small businesses go in, they have to pay for market research. They don't know what market research they're to take. And the SBDCs, we have access to those research databases, and we can provide whatever market research new businesses want. We are an underutilized agency. Most small businesses don't know about us. But let's first define what a small business is.
Sure.
And by SBA standards, a small business is any business with sales of less than 7 million or fewer than 500 employees. So that pretty much grabs a large swath of the small businesses that are out here. And some people may not even consider that small business, but by the SBA's definition, they definitely are.
Indeed. I had no idea that anyone would provide free market research. Are you serious?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, you know what? It's not really free because you pay for it through your taxes.
You're so right. But I just assumed that I just have to tell you something funny that happened in the chat. Mike Patterson asked what qualifies as a small business. And of course, there's a little bit of delay behind the chat behind you talking. So
Sure.
You had just answered the question. So I didn't respond because I knew you just answered the question. He's like, he just answered my question. Richard Griffin in the chat I'm going to hurt him, has a question. Is there a time management idea where I can run a business and get jiggy with it? Jiggy is the jiggy is suffering cutbacks. Understood. Understood. Okay, but we definitely will address the jiggy in a minute. Continue what you were saying. I'm sorry. Market studies can be fairly expensive if you hire an outside firm.
Absolutely, it can be. And the SBDCs, we maintain our memberships with the various market research agencies and companies that are out here, so we can provide those services at no cost to the businesses that we service.
Now, when small businesses come to you, is there besides the specific size, is there another criteria that you use?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Although we consult with free ventures and startups, our sweet spot are really established businesses that are seeking to make that often difficult leap from small to sustainable growth. And in addition, most SBCD divisions have specific divisions dedicated to minority and women-owned businesses and international trade. So those are also very useful areas that we help small businesses in.
And so you have, I guess, what you would call like satellite offices, if you will, right? All over the country.
Correct. They're all under the America's Small Business Development Center umbrella. Yes. And they are, as I said earlier, they are all funded and administered through the leading universities. For example, you're in New Jersey, and the Small Business Development Center there is run by Rutgers. So.
Right. Gotcha. Now, how's the SBA, or the Small Business Association, affiliated with that? They don't do any of the funding, right?
Correct. Y'all know, yes. The SBA does the funding through the grant program.
Okay.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Okay.
And typically how the funding capital stack breaks down, the SBA typically provides 75% of the funding, and the host university will kick in the remaining 25%.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And I'd just like to give the website for your listeners so they can look up the SBDC in their respective state. It would be americassbdc.org. So that's americassbdc.org.
SBDC.org.
.org.
They never make it easy, do they? I'm just kidding.
No, they don't.
I'm just saying, like, it's never an easy. I'm like, who comes up with the website? I just feel like I feel like it's never the IT guy. It's like probably some bureaucrat. You know what I mean? Like, because the IT guy would have said, no, don't make it that. I just posted it. I just posted the link in the chat.
Awesome. Like I said, we are here to help grow, manage, start small businesses. And as the economic base is enhanced, our country benefits.
And that is very true. Have you seen any changes in your organization since we've transitioned from President Obama to President Trump? I'm just curious, particularly since we have a business guy in there now.
The SBA, as you probably know, has regional offices around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the first African-American district head here for the Southeast. His name is Ashley Bell.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know Ashley Bell.
Ashley? Yeah. Okay. Well,
come on now.
Very good.
You're blacking in the GOP. You better know Ashley.
There you go. So he is the new, our new boss of the SBA down here in the Southeast region, and he is extremely pro small business. So he is about giving us the resources and whatever we need to help America's small businesses grow. And I think that is a feather in the cap for the agency, and of course starts from the top at President Trump. Indeed. I love that. And every time I hear the first black, I'm just like, really, again? You're so right, Melanie.
Seems like it took so long. But eventually it's like it's not even gonna be a thing. Like someday it's not gonna be a thing. I hope I'm like alive while it's like not a thing. Know what I mean?
You and me both.
Know what I'm saying? I just hope one day it's not gonna be a thing. But so if you're a small business, and you are thinking about doing first of all, can you explain to the audience, for those of us who may not understand what a market study is, or because that's huge, or why you need a market study and why it's so important, the fact that they provide that service. Can you explain the background behind that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'll give a couple of real world examples.
Sure.
Let's say you are an established business and you're doing well and you're seeking to open up another location, but you have no idea. It would behoove you to conduct some market research as to how many households are in the area you're looking to go, the median income of those households, whether they own dogs, how many cars do they own. You can get as specific as you want to cater to the specific product or service that you sell. So when you engage the market research, they will scour the area that you're looking at and return to you all of that relevant information that you'll be able to use to make a decision as to where you want to open up that new location.
That makes a lot of sense. Kevin Cullis in the chat said market study versus market research. And I think I probably use those terms simultaneously. That's not what I meant, interchangeably. But they're not really. I feel like a market study is a little bit deeper. That gets into, traffic patterns and whether or not you have enough parking. It gets into to all of that kind of stuff. Like if you're going to decide to put up a store somewhere, then you need to know that you have enough room. You need to like that gets into like the municipality and zoning and all of that stuff when you get into the actual study. The market research, right? The market research is kind of the first step, and then you get into, once you get past that, then you want to do a deeper market study.
You're absolutely right, Melanie. Market research would basically be your high-level demographics, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. It's unfortunate that I know that. And actually, and the reason why I said it's unfortunate that I know that is because I served on a zoning board, and if you've ever served on a zoning board, You know why I said that's unfortunate.
I have not, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's engineering and how high somebody's sign is. You the things that you learn about your government. It's just yeah, it's insane. It's insane how our government is run. I didn't even know there was such thing as a zoning board. Like, where all of our signs are, all businesses' signs, there's a board that decides how high you can put them or how low you can put them and how big they can be. And that business has to go to a zoning board in the municipality with an engineer and with a lawyer and plead their case in front of the zoning board. Not even kidding.
My goodness. And
it costs thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Talk about government overreach, huh?
Serious government my first year on the zoning board, I was appalled. I could not believe that people had to go through. Same thing depending on the municipality. Same thing if you just want to put a swimming pool in your backyard. Yep. Same situation. You have to get an engineer. You got to get a lawyer and make sure that you measurement. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. So anywho, I digress just a little bit. So you have them all around the country. Is there an application process that a person has to go to, and what is the time frame like, or does it depend on what services that you're availing yourself of?
Exactly, and it would all depend on what stage you're at, whether you're a pre-venture, whether you're an established business. If you're a pre-venture, the first thing we do is send you what's called a business development questionnaire. And what that covers, kind of asks you questions, some probing questions. What is your competitive advantage? What's your target market? Sends you a kind of a 12-month cash flow projection sheet that you'll kind of fill out. And it really asks you some probing questions to kind of add some framework to that pre-venture that you're considering doing. Once that business questionnaire has been filled out and sent back to the agency, then we'll set you up with what we call a discovery meeting. Well, we'll sit down with you and exactly find out what types of services you need to get your business started, and then we'll direct you to either some continuing education classes or some one-on-one consulting. And the great thing about the SBDCs is each of the various locations has subject matter experts in all of the business functional areas, whether it be strategy, marketing, operations, finance, HR. So we can help you with all of the business functional areas. But short answer to your question, the first step is to pick up the phone, call your local SBDC, and let them know that you're interested in getting an appointment.
Wow. I'd never heard of that. Just like I had never heard of the organization called SCORE, which I need to have them back on the show, come to think about it.
Yeah, I can give you a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is essentially, it stands for Senior Corps of Retired Executives, and they are a volunteer branch of the Small Business Administration. Their primary function, what I found, is they are very good with pre-ventures and helping pre-ventures write business plans. Because 99% of the people who come to us seeking to start a business have no formal business plan in place. And that is a niche that SCORE does really well with. And if people don't even have business plans, we will typically send them to SCORE first. And once they complete that end of it, then they'll come see us for the business functional areas, and if they're applying for an SBA loan or things of that nature.
That's interesting, because I feel like a lot of times people will have a good idea and they don't even know that a business plan is part of what they need to do.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely, Melanie.
That's where a lot of the groundwork is built, and not for nothing. When you think that you want to have your own business, that's when you figure out if you really want to have your own business.
Exactly.
Right?
Because you drill down into that competitive advantage. I mean, you flat out ask people, why are customers going to come to you versus the other market offerings out here? And a lot of people cannot answer that question. And if they can't answer that question, then I honestly ask them, are you really ready to be in business?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, what about the funding and financing? Do you all do anything in that arena?
Yes, absolutely we do. That's a big part of our deliverables that we send to the SBA as our funding numbers. We not only have relationships with the SBA and can navigate through the SBA loan process, but we also have a cadre of private banks and finance companies that are ready to assist our entrepreneurs.
Really?
Yes.
And is that also government funded? And is that similar to the, low interest SBA loans that you hear about in other situations?
Yes, there are a number of different SBA loan programs. Some of them low interest. There are very fewer and fewer grants available, but there are even some of those out there. But the thing that we do and the value that we add is to help them navigate through that loan process and see what type of loan programs that they would actually qualify for based on their situation. Maybe they're a disadvantaged business, a veteran. They're going to open up in an enterprise zone. So all of those factors come into play, and we evaluate those and kind of slot them in the best possible loan program for them.
Are there any kinds of businesses that are off limits? Because there's so many choices. Like, for example, would you consider someone who is an author and say that they want to be an author and they want to, I want to open up, Melanie Business Diva Enterprises, and I'm going to write a bunch of business books. Would that be considered? Would you still look at that as a business, even though I'm the business and I would just be writing the materials, as long as I had a viable business plan?
Sure. Though we call them solopreneurs, and you're just a one-person shop who's seeking to grow a business. The only businesses we cannot help are nonprofits. So any for-profit business, we are in a position to help.
That makes sense. And although this should be common sense, and I doubt anyone in my audience would be thinking about this at all, I would assume that you would not be able to finance anything that is even remotely illegal.
You are absolutely right about that.
But people are crazy, and people ask crazy questions. I'm sure. You overhear the phone calls of people calling 911 for stupid stuff. I feel like that's the same people who would go to your organization and ask to finance their, crack dealing.
Correct. Correct. Put it this way: that there's some stories out here like that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Not one bit. Not even a little bit. So
I'll tell you what, though, we are entering into a gray area here where some states have legalized marijuana operations and some states don't. So how that is all going to play out in the future, I don't know, but it should be interesting.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because the issue is, of course, that it's still against federal law, and
Correct.
They even have an issue with the banking situation. So,
yes, they do.
Right, because they can't really, it would be against federal law for them to run them through the bank. So I think that they're like housing their cash.
Yeah, it creates a huge, those are huge cash businesses at this point. But I have confidence in the ingenuity of the American free market, and I'm sure there will be some banking type of platforms that will begin to emerge.
I just, that whole situation, and I have every faith in the Constitution, but that whole situation seems insane. I don't understand. Like, we have a new governor here in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy, and he is well on his way to legalizing marijuana. And I just don't know how you get by that from a business perspective.
It's going to create some very difficult situations, because you've got some programs here, like, for example, in Georgia, any company over 3 employees has to have workman's compensation insurance. Well, the workmen's compensation people have a program called Drugs Don't Work, where they offer a discount on the insurance premiums to companies. Now, how is that going to happen? Well, what's going to happen when marijuana becomes legal here? I mean, it's going to create a whole bunch of problems in the future.
And they're going to battle it out, and it's just going to end up being legal everywhere. That's the feeling that I get. I
think that's the direction it's headed to, personally.
I don't know if I'm delighted about that or not. I've never smoked it. People who have seem to be happy with it. Whatever. But from a business perspective, I just for us to have this going, like we're pretty smart people here in the United States, and for us to have this going on where we have this business that's like we're in the United States, and it just seems to me that a state should not be able to make a law that breaks a federal law. That's the issue that I have with it.
That's a great point, Melanie. A great point. I mean, it's a balance between federal law and states' rights. And as you said, it's going to be a battle. And I think a bunch of lawyers are going to be able to make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Oh, you're right about that. I mean, states have the right to make their own laws, but you shouldn't be able to make a law that's going to break you're literally making a law that breaks federal law. And that's different than just making a law that's just for your state. In my mind, It's different.
Absolutely.
So now you have this like crazy situation, and so I guess there's no such thing as like a cannabis franchise, or maybe sure.
Not yet, at least.
Because you're crossing state lines with that foolishness.
Yeah.
I just, yeah. And I hear, you hear a lot, the kids, the children, I work in a college, so you hear a lot about that kind of stuff in the colleges. And of course, they all want it legal because, they're children. But I can't. Now, do you all go to trade shows and events and things like that where you talk to people about your services and what you do?
Yes. On a local level, typically we interact a lot with chambers of commerce and business associations. So we have great relationships with them, and they love us because we help their chamber members and business association members grow their businesses. So that is, in terms of trade shows, we're not very active there. We prefer more of a grassroots approach, dealing with chambers and business associations and things of that nature.
That makes sense. I haven't been to a lot of trade shows, but occasionally you go to one and you see these different organizations. I'm laughing at a comment in the chat. Somebody said those darn potheads. And someone said Big Pharma wants into the industry, the MJ industry. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, that is certainly true. So where can we find you if we wanted to find? We can go to our local colleges, or I guess
correct. What you do is you go to that americassbdc.org website.
Right.
You'll type in your state or your zip code, and it will populate the closest SBDC network operation to where you live, and it's just that simple.
I love it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And if somebody wants to talk to you personally, have you on the show? A lot of other radio show hosts, believe it or not, listen to my show, and we're always looking for guests. If they want to contact you, how would they do so?
They can contact me. I'd be happy to help out. They can contact me by email. That is mcollier, Collier. You know what? I'm going to give you an easier one.
Okay.
to my SBDC email, because we are UGA employees. Mark, MARK.Collier @uga.edu.
Excellent. And the government doesn't mind you being on radio shows talking about government agencies?
No, absolutely not.
Interesting. I would think that would be I don't know why I would think that would be a conflict, but I feel like that would be a conflict, probably because of insurance licensing. Makes me think that like anything official is taboo.
Anything. I have a phone number too.
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely, go.
It is 770-414-3110.
Excellent. Mr. Collier has a meeting to get off to, so we're going to let him go early and go to a break. Thank you so much for being on the show. That was very insightful. I knew nothing about that organization, certainly didn't know that you had offices nationwide, and I'm sure that was very helpful to my audience.
Well, great, Melanie. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I thank you for inviting me on. And if you need me again, feel free to reach out.
Indeed. Thank you so much. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Our guest today was Mark Collier, business consultant and efficiency expert. And he is with the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center in Atlanta. But those offices are all over the country. You need to know that. We are going to be back in a couple of moments.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also, one of the owners there at the SHR Media Network. I'm opinionated. Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. I'm here 2 miles from the capital. Locating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Dirty politicians, shadow governments, and blend with extreme media smoke. Their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network. That's Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, obliviating Zeppelin sitting right to my left, bringing you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat. I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Place Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it. Can't tell you how many times I've recorded that. I have to talk so fast. Somebody, oh my goodness, I got somebody to write the script for me and do the music for me, and she's like, all you got to do is do the voiceover. Yeah, I have to do that like 3 times. It's pretty brutal. Anyway, listen, in the last 5 minutes, I thought I would talk to you guys. I didn't know if you heard about this crazy tax that was passed in Seattle. It's been on television for like the last couple of weeks, and it was on LinkedIn today. Only on large corporations, specifically to generate income for the homeless, which, who's against taking care of the homeless? I don't think anybody is like against taking care of the homeless or against providing homes for the homeless. I think we're like all in agreement that homeless people need homes, and that's a good thing. But what they're doing in Seattle city is they are taxing only large corporations so they can build affordable housing because they have such extreme homelessness. Now, the tax is supposed to generate $45 million a year. They're going to collect, this is crazy, $275 per employee annually for companies making at least $20 million in revenue. And Starbucks and Amazon campaigned against this whole thing. And they did it anyway. They passed it anyway. And, all I could think of was, instead of taxing big companies, why don't you make your area more business friendly so that they can get jobs? Or do those people not want jobs? Why don't we figure out why they're homeless and help them to not be home? I just don't. And apparently it's super expensive there. I think they're just doing themselves a huge disservice. It's crazy. Amazon employs 45,000 people in Seattle, and they were supposed to expand, but now they're thinking that they might not do that. So I thought that was crazy, and I didn't know if you guys had heard about that. I want to talk about that at all. The other thing that happened, and we haven't talked about the blockchain or cryptocurrency in quite some time. And actually, my crypto right now, Richard in the chat said they're trying to fight homelessness by subsidizing homelessness. Exactly. That makes no sense. And that's what I'm saying. It's you're basically okay, you're homeless, so let's build you a house. It is literally wealth distribution. They're targeting businesses that are making $20 million plus in revenue. That is not, and they're using that money to build houses for the homeless. So, they're literally saying to successful businesses, and it's going to cost people who are, the people who are working, $275 a piece. That makes no sense whatsoever. And, it's already costing them because Amazon is thinking about Amazon was going to expand, and they have put a halt to that. They have put a stop to that. And, if I'm Bezos right now, I'm thinking I might not stay here. Why would I? At some point, it's not going to be financially feasible for him to stay there anymore. And from what I understand, Amazon was building, in their new building, what they were working on was building a space for homeless people. They were already kind of, doing their part, if you will. Kevin said city councils are not allowing to have small houses built in their town. And you know what, Kevin? That's another problem. That is another. Okay, I live in an area where I talk about how I live in Cape May County all the time. Well, I live where I specifically live is kind of in the middle of some island communities. I live within, I don't know, 10 minutes of about 4 or 5 beaches. Okay, 4 or 5 islands. And there's law where like everybody is supposed to have affordable housing. Now, ask me if all of those island resort communities with those $1.5 million houses have affordable housing. Ask me how they avoided it. Because you can buy your way out of it. And that's the thing. Just said that gives incentive for people to quit their jobs. Yep. So when Kevin Keller says city councils are not allowing to have small houses in their towns, I believe that absolutely, and I know that they know how to avoid them. Michael Patterson said, what about the mayor of ETC pay? I don't think I heard about that. I don't think I heard about that today. I was too busy being evil today. Listen, you guys know that I'm a public school teacher, and it's the end of the school year. So like everything I think is like I think about my show in between saying like so what and who cares. It's terrible. 1.5 million. That's a 4-bedroom house. Oh well, not where I live though. We're at the beach. Now I live inland. I mean, don't get it twisted. I don't live in a 1.4 million town. I live inland, but 5-10 minutes away from me, there's beaches. I live very close to a lot of beaches, and those houses are millions of dollars. And I'm gonna tell you right now, they are not having affordable housing. And I'm involved in politics, and I told you guys I served on zoning board. I know stuff. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. I know how that stuff works. I know how certain communities weasel their way out of building those houses. Section 8. Oh no, darling, not in those communities. They fight it tooth and nail. And a lot of these laws have things built in where you can like purchase credits, which is basically like it's the same like global warming theory, right? Like you can fly around in your jet, in your private jet, as long as you pay for the credits. It is the same exact principle. It works the same way with affordable housing. I'm all for capitalism, but there's some things I'm not for it. Listen, if they were getting ready to put some Section 8 housing in my neighborhood, real talk, I would be less than delighted. I'm gonna keep it 100. I would not be thrilled about that. Just saying, I wouldn't. Anyway, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Colette. Thank you so much for listening today and for being in the Facey chat. You guys totally rock. It is pay to play, Kevin, by the way. If you have downloaded this as a podcast, thank you so much for doing so. If you're listening on SHR Media or High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, thank you so much. Thank you for all the good questions and comments in the Facey chat. You rock. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Have a great night.